Hello and welcome to my YouTube channel, Augusto Argandoña Fine Arts. Anytime in this narrated tutorial, you can click on the subscribe button to subscribe to my channel. If you should want to learn about my virtual classes or want to see my paintings, you can do so in my website at aafinearts.com. This tutorial is about how to paint a street scene with vegetation and some people in it with watercolors. This particular image, I took a photograph of it at a very, very picturesque shopping plaza, outdoor shopping plaza called Tlaquepaque in Sedona, Arizona. Very, very beautiful place. All the architecture is all Spanish style, and it's very nice vegetation. You know, some of the vegetation was brought to the site, but there's also natural vegetation that is very, very nice. What struck me interesting about Arizona is that there are some areas that where the desert is downright ugly, but there are areas where it is very, very, very pretty. Especially when you start looking not at as a panoramic view, but more or less as a specific small area. Some of the vegetation has a very, very beautiful colors. Unlike colors, greens that you would see in northern regions of the United States or what is in areas here in Florida. But very, very beautiful vegetation, very, very beautiful colors. Sedona, I thought, was sort of like an oasis in the desert because it is very, I wouldn't say lush, but very, very vegetated. There's a lot of very beautiful colors, very beautiful vegetation. But you leave Sedona and you are in the desert. You know, there are some cactus and some of the trees. I think it's called Palo Verde bush or something like that. But in Sedona itself, the vegetation was very, very striking. Anyway, so much for that. I will start with the fun part of this demonstration, and let me show you what's happening here. Like I said, this is a Tlaquepaque shopping plaza. What caught my eye was the light, the morning light on these pillars and this overhang with the Spanish tile, and a lot of the very bright, beautiful greens in the vegetation and some of these planters, in contrast with the very warm colors on the walls. The ground is, I think it was some sort of a brick or pavers or something like that. Very light terracotta, but with the sunlight it was almost white. And there's some other planters here, and there's some people here, and they're taking a walk, taking a stroll, and all of these are stores. But like I said, what struck me is the amount of light and everything that here that will be almost white in contrast with the vegetation and the very warm colors of the walls. So without much ado, I'm going to go ahead and start this demonstration. We'll sit down here, and I'm going to start by, because of the amount of light that's happening here and here, I'm going to need, at the outset, I'm going to need some very contrasting darker colors. So with that in mind, I'm going to start with painting some of these walls and some of the darker areas of the walls, and then I'm going to go right into this area, which is all greenery. So I will start by getting a little bit of moisture in the paper here. Not really wetting the paper, but just adding a little bit of moisture here in between these areas, these pillars, and also over here, going over the people too. The colors are kind of very warm, earthy tones. So because of that, I'm going to use some yellow ochre with a little bit of burnt sienna. And I'm going to leave that's just a little bit of those colors here. There's some planters here over here too, so I'm going to do that. And a little bit of a brick wall there. I'm going to leave some areas white for the sunlight. But here, let's see, I'm going to put some color over here. There. And also on the inside of this wall, in between those columns. Like that. In fact, I think I'm going to change brushes to a round brush. That will be better. So I'm going to bring a little bit more of the burnt sienna with the yellow ochre. And I'm going to go ahead and bring some of those colors over here, like that too. Like that, there. I'm going to remove some of that pigmentation that's too dark in some of those areas. There, like that. But over here, in contrast with everything here, it's going to be fairly dark. So for that, I'm going to use some yellow ochre, and I'm going to change from burnt sienna to burnt umber for this area. Avoiding these plants, and I'm going to bring some of that over here, like that, very dark. I'm also going to bring in some ultramarine blue with burnt sienna for the much darker areas of those walls, because everything there is in the shade. So I'm going to come over here, like that. Like that. And I'll leave some of the white for the shadows there. I'm going to bring some of those color over here too. Bring a little bit of water in this area and let that dry. While that's dry, I'm going to go ahead and do the tile, that tile roof, using yellow ochre primarily. Leaving a little bit of white, and also bringing a little bit of burnt sienna, not too much. Like that. A little bit more water, and blend these colors into that tile, like that. And I'm going to go ahead and start with the shadow portion of these pillars. And for that, I'm going to use, I think I'm going to use a little bit of a yellow ochre with the rosemary. And Yeah, there we are. The yellow ochre and rosemary will give me a really gorgeous shadow. I'm gonna put some blue into that too. This planter is casting some shadows there too. But for now, I'm gonna increase the rosemary with the yellow ochre and bring those colors here like that. Same thing over here. Like that. And immediately, I'm gonna clean my brush and I'm gonna bring in some ultramarine. There, that's the color that I wanted for the shadows of this column. There, like that. And on the shadow side of this column, I'm gonna put some of the ultramarine. A little bit of the rosemary. There, like that. And also a little bit more yellow ochre in this lower area. There. There, like that. A little bit of the yellow ochre here. I'm gonna darken that shadow area a little bit more ultramarine. Then I'm gonna bring in some of the burnt sienna. There, that's okay. That's a really nice color for those shadows. Okay, so now, like I said, I'm gonna go ahead and start with the greenery in the background. I'm gonna do this, plant these flowers over here, but no, I'm gonna wait. This is still wet. So I'm gonna add some burnt sienna and a little bit of cadmium red for this little brick wall. There, like that. And a little bit of ultramarine with the cadmium red. Get sort of a muddy type shadow area outlining this planter and the people there. Just like that. And then I'm gonna go immediately with the foliage. This is dry, so I'm gonna use some aureolin yellow with a touch of permanent sap green, but mostly the aureolin yellow. And this little beautiful green in the sunlight. Leave some whites for the sparkle. Like that. Hanging. And there was also some red flowers. So I'm gonna just touch a few little areas like that. Yeah, that's it. And I'm gonna do the planters. For that, I'm gonna use a little bit of raw sienna mixed with raw sienna mixed with the permanent sap green for some of the greenery over here. kind of warm greenery. They're like this. They're overhanging on the pot. Yeah, like that. I will do the same thing over here. Again, the sunlight was hitting these bushes, these planters, and very, very nice colors. Now I'm going to bring in some undersea green. My undersea green is beautiful, beautiful green. It's made by Daniel Smith. Beautiful color. It's great to do foliage and greenery. Like that there. Some of that greenery going into the shadow area. Like that. It is an absolutely beautiful green. Highly recommended. Add some permanent sap green to that and do some of the darker greenery here. Yeah, same thing over here. Yeah, like that. Okay, so now this should dry. It's dry. So I'm going to change brushes to a smaller round brush and do I'm going to get some burnt sienna and ultramarine blue. Mixing those colors in my palette. Mostly the ultramarine blue gets sort of a darker color. And do this tiles. Like that. I'm going to get some burnt sienna by itself and do the tiles. Make sure I don't get into that green. Just give an indication. You don't have to do a lot of like that. And I'm going to change brushes again to a different type of small brush. Where's my small brush? Here it is. Okay, and then I'm going to pick up some sepia this time. Very strong sepia with a little bit of ultramarine. And there's some architectural items here. This that's holding the roof. And this. I'm going to do that. Same thing over here. Architectural details. There, like that. I'll lay that alone. Then change brushes again to my other brush and do this. Some of the greenery. Here. Some type of evergreen in those planters. And like that. I'm going to add a little bit more ultramarine and darken some areas, the shadow side of this evergreen. Yeah, like that. Okay, now I'm gonna go ahead and pick up some, this time some raw umber. Quite a bit of the raw umber mixed with the sea green. And come over here and do this greenery. Now the painting is gonna start singing because of the value contrasts. Raw umber and undersea green makes a really beautiful green, very warm color. A little bit more of the undersea green. A little bit of the sepia into it. Darken some of these areas. And come down over here to this wall and start blocking it with that dark value. Like that. I'm gonna go pick up a little bit more of the raw umber by itself this time. I'll come over here and do a little bit more of the foliage, kind of loosely. Just miss the area where the people were gonna be. Like that. Like that. Now I'm going to bring in some Payne's gray, mix into that green, Payne's gray and the raw umber. Makes it a very nice color also. A little different green. Do away with those white speckles. A little bit more of the Payne's gray. And start doing some of the darker areas here. Outlining the area where the people were gonna be. A little bit more water in my brush and soften all of this here. There, like that. Okay, now I'm going to let that dry. I'm going to pick up some aureolin yellow and permanent sap green and do some of the greenery here on this plantis. Like that. And there were some really beautiful greens in that, in the planters. I'm going to add a little bit more of this color here. There, like that. And these planters are gonna get a little bit of a ultramarine blue on the shadow side. Yeah, like that. Okay, so now I'm gonna get a flat brush and I'm gonna pick up a little bit of brown matter with cobalt blue, not too much, kind of light, and do this floor a little bit less color and more water. Just a very small amount of color. Leaving it, when this dries, it will be almost white. But I just wanted to leave a little bit of color there like that. I'm gonna wait for this to dry somewhat. While that's drying, I'm gonna go ahead and start darkening some areas over here. I'm going to use some yellow ochre, quite a bit of the yellow ochre with a little bit of rose madder, and darken this area here. Do some of the shadows on the wall, inside wall, like that. I'm going to bring in some cobalt blue this time instead of ultramarine. Like that. And some of the rose madder. There, like that. A little bit of the burnt sienna. All these colors are mixed on the paper, not on the palette. There, like that. And I can tell that I'm gonna need to bring in some more ultramarine blue into these shadows areas. There. There, like that. Okay, now I'm going to pick up another brush, small round brush, and I'm going to remove some of this color from that wall in the distance. And blot it out. There, okay. I'm going to darken those shadows on those columns later. But for now, I'm going to go ahead and finish this wall. There were all of these trees are casting quite a bit of shadows on these walls. So I'm going to use some burnt sienna and ultramarine for some of the shadows here. Like that. A little bit of yellow ochre also. And this area is going to be much darker. Like that. I'm going to let that dry. Now, I'll change brushes again and pick up some ultramarine and sepia, mostly the sepia, and do this section of this supports for the roof. Like that. Just like put the round brush, more sepia, a little bit of ultramarine, but mostly the sepia, and come over here and continue these architectural elements. And then also there's a dark area over here, so I'm going to do that like that. A little bit more ultramarine. There, like that. A little bit more burnt sienna. And there's a wall, like I think there's a door here. There, like that. And there's a wall over here. Some type of opening. And some partitions on this wall. And that. A little bit more of the burnt sienna. And the shadow over here on the wall and the floor. And like that. Pick up more of the brown sienna with the ultramarine and a little bit of the brown matter. And I'm going to do some of the shadows over here from this column. Yeah, like that. A little bit more of the brown sienna and the ultramarine. Yeah. A little bit of that dark area here too. There, like that. I'm going to darken this area a little bit more. There, like that. Now I want to pick up some the burnt umber with this gray color that I have, and then we'll do this planter blocking this column. A little bit more of the burnt umber. Shadow areas. Like that. Same thing here. Maybe some old burnt sienna instead of the burnt umber. There we are. And like that. Same thing here. We have very nice colors for those planters. Same thing over here. And this area will be on the back wall. There will be some rose madder and yellow ochre for that back wall there. And I'm going to bring that over here too. There, like that. And I'm going to bring in some cobalt blue, clean cobalt blue. There. Which tells me now that I need to darken the shadow on that on those columns. Like that. There we are. Much better. This back wall also needs to have some shadows. But I'm going to use some cobalt blue for that. Cobalt blue and brown matter. Leave some white there. There, like that. And over here, I'm going to put some of that color. But I'm going to bring some ultramarine blue there too, and darken some of these areas. There, okay. I'm going to bring a little bit of the yellow ochre, very light, and just give a line over here. I think there's tile in that area. There, like that. A little bit of the ultramarine here. Darken that pot, darken this pot a little bit. There we are. Okay, now I'm going to clean my brush and pick up a round brush, and I'm going to add a little bit of the details on this, picking up, lifting color on these columns. There, like that. Okay, so this is dry. So now I'm going to take a round brush, pick up some sepia and ultramarine, mostly the sepia. I'll do some of the tree trunks. Branches, like I said, mostly the sepia. Some over here. Okay, these trees, I'm going to give them a little bit of a texture with undersea green and Payne's gray, almost a dry brush. like that. I'm gonna paint that pot bright burnt sienna, like that. And I'm gonna put a little bit of burnt sienna here too. There we are. And there, like that. That works great. Same thing over here. There. Now these columns are really coming alive. Right. Now I'm going to take a small brush, round brush, and start doing the people. I'm going to give somebody here a red top. And the legs. And somebody else is going to have a pink outfit. This lady's doing the shopping. Different colors. And get some burnt umber and do the heads and leave a little bit of white, the sunlight, the legs. Yeah, like that. And I'm going to put another one over here. And then like that. And I'm going to give that person a little different type of color top. Then like that. A little bit of blue for the shorts and legs. Brown. Just give it a little bit of life to the scene, you know. And so now I'm going to take a small flat brush. I'm going to start adding the shadows. Use quite a bit of brown matter with cobalt blue. People have casting a shadow too, and these containers are casting a shadow. The person, same thing. We've got a little bit of shadow there. Shadows coming from the left-hand side. Different buildings following the perspective. A little bit more over here. There's some planters are casting shadows also. A little bit more of the blue. brown matter. And we're going to put a long shadow over here, like that. Kind of stage the place. Like that. And that's pretty much it. I think I'm gonna, while I have these colors, I'm gonna darken this area too. There, like that. A little bit of architectural details here. And I'm gonna clean my brush really good. I'm gonna pick up some yellow ochre and again, add some of to this background. Get rid of that white in the distance, in that area of that wall. I'm gonna darken some of those shadows also with cobalt blue and brown matter. Like that. A bit more of the cobalt blue. And we're going to bring some of that color over here. Yeah. A little bit more cobalt blue. And we're going to add some, cool this down. There, like that. Okay. I'm also gonna bring in some yellow ochre, a little bit of the yellow ochre into these shadows, not too much, just kind of warm them up a little bit. There, like that. This edge, right edge of this column is gonna be a little darker. There, like that. And now I'm going to take, this is, don't dry here, I'm going to take some of the sepia with the ultramarine blue that's in my palette, and there's a window here. This is dry, yep. It's a window. There's another window over here. And like that. And there's a balcony. I think there's a balcony in this area here. So now that whole area underneath is dark. And like that. I'm going to wait for that to dry somewhat. And I'm going to take a small hard bristle brush and remove some of the pigment from this column, outlining some of the details there. Like that. Some of the yellow ochre and burnt sienna, and do a little bit more of the detailing on that. There. And also use some of the cobalt blue and tone down this shadow. like that. And tone down this also a little bit. There. There, like that. Okay. I'm going to take my flat brush, pick up some yellow ochre, not much, very light, and add a little bit of color in this wall there. Okay, this is dry now, so I'll do that balcony. There, like that. And I'm going to do one more window over here. There, like that. Okay. Now I'm going to remove the tape, bring the dark board, and I'll show you how this looks like. There. Here comes the dark board for the background, and I'm going to minimize it, and there yours. Talakipaki at SEDONA, Arizona. I hope you enjoy watching this demonstration, this tutorial, and thank you for watching it. And please visit my website at aafinearts.com, where you will see information about my virtual classes and a selection of my paintings and prints. Until next time.